Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. All right, so I want to talk about AT&T. For those of you that aren't aware of this, most of you should be already, but AT&T is planning to cut copper service by the year 2029. In fact, they wanted to do it sooner for California. They tried to do it last year. The FCC rejected it, and thankfully they did. There's a lot of rural areas in California where there's no other options other than landline service. Wireless service is just not there in many parts. Towers are too far away. We have plenty of customers that get one bar, and then when they try to make calls, it drops. So wireless service is not an option. They're not building enough out there, which is the company's fault. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they're not building enough for rural America. As we know, that is the biggest complex with wireless service, right? That is the biggest issue that's been ongoing. And for many customers, they found that, it's been a problem more with T-Mobile than, say, AT&T or Verizon. We're starting to hear different stories now. So this could be changing. T-Mobile could be catching up. Nonetheless, all three carriers need more access in rural. There's plenty of customers complaining that there's just not enough cell phone coverage in general. The biggest problem, too, is, and they'll say that it's because they can't get out there and there's blockage or it's difficult and there's so many things in the way, distance and yada, yada. A lot of it has to do with money, okay? They don't want to go out and build expensive fiber networks for customers when there's only like 100 people in town, right? It's just not economical for them. It's not financially, it doesn't make sense financially for them. So they're not going to come right out and say that, but that is exactly part of the problem here. And, that's why AT&T wants to retire copper. There's not as many people using landlines. We know this. I mean, most people have a cell phone. Even the older generation has gotten with it now. They like their smartphones. They have iPhones. They have Galaxies. And most customers like it. But what do you do when you don't have cell coverage? You can't force customers to move and leave their home that they've been in 30 plus years, maybe even longer, right? It's not their fault that times are changing. Companies have to accommodate customers that are in unique situations. A unique situation is where you live in a very rural community and you don't have any other option other than a landline service. So AT&T, they're dancing around the fact that they need to build more coverage, whether it be cell phone coverage or fiber, right? Replace the copper lines with fiber lines. So that is the concern here that, the CWA is warning that once they cut copper, this is going to be a universal undercut. So it's going to basically hurt so many people in rural communities because they're not going to have any options, right? They're saying that AT&T is going to cut copper services and they don't plan on replacing these copper lines with fiber optic cables. And they're not getting cell phone coverage out there. So what are they going to do? You know what their answer is? Satellite service. That's what they're relying on. So they're basically pulling a T-Mobile here. And, with T-Mobile, their excuses for the gaps in network coverage is, you're going to use satellite service. You're going to use Starlink, okay? And that is how you're going to get better coverage. So AT&T is basically saying the same thing. So now AT&T can basically be put in the same exact class as T-Mobile when you really break it down. They've spent years building copper, but they won't assist customers in rural America with building, fiber, replacing copper with fiber or building more cell phone coverage because it's too costly and they don't want to do it. Does that make any sense? So, of course, AT&T not happy about CWA's short-sighted comments, they said. A spokesperson from AT&T emphasized that they have a commitment to providing high-speed, reliable internet to service rural communities. Of course, they have to say that. However, there's a however. Given the long distances between rural locations, the company viewed fiber as an impractical option. So basically, you have your answer right there. This is a spokesperson from AT&T who maybe spoke out of line. I don't know. Maybe they'll be corrected and maybe she'll have to, reissue a statement. But she's saying that fiber is an impractical option. So, like I said, satellite, that's part of their connectivity toolbox and is important and economic for options for rural users, scattered across large, hard-to-reach areas where fiber may not be practically available to fill gaps in coverage. So that is their option here. We knew that that's why they wanted it, but I mean, that's not an answer. That is not an answer. Okay, you're going to stick the customers with the bill. First off, you're going to have to pay for that satellite coverage, $15 to $20 a month at least, right? So you will now have to pay more because, there's no other options. I don't know. I just don't like this, I really don't like this. There's going to be a lot of customers that are going to have a problem. They may be left without, 911 service if there's an issue. And I think that something has to be done. Like the FCC is going to have to dust off their shoes, get up and actually do their job, from once in a while. Once in a while, we'll be able to get them to do a little something. This is going to have to be one of those times where they do a little something, because this is not a valid answer if you ask me. This is something that is very serious. There's customers in these areas that need access to phones, and all they have to say is satellite service, assuming that it'll be ready, that it'll be working properly, that there won't be any malfunctions or anything like that. So I don't know. AT&T wanted to cut coverage in California a year ago, and they were going to leave those customers without options. So do you think we can trust that by 2029, their attitude will change? Not unless you get all new people in that company who think differently. Telco, they only care about making money. That's it. All these companies only really care about making money. And that's it. That's their primary goal. That's their blueprint. Every single plan in that blueprint is to capitalize, make money, cut costs, and it doesn't really matter if customers are happy. I think they've thrown that whole satisfy the customer, attitude out a long time ago. The only reason they even put on a fake smile is so that you can continue to pay them. That is why MVNO options are so gratifying. However, they're purchasing all the MVNO options. So that really just leaves us back to square one with nothing. I don't know. Comment down below your thoughts on this. It's not meant to be a bash. It's meant to kind of point out the fact that these companies still haven't figured it out. It's been all these years and they still don't know what customers really need. If you can't make a call, remember, telco's number one job is to provide phone service, to allow customers to make phone calls when they need to, whether it's for business, personal matters, emergencies. That is the main job of a telephone service. Everything else is just benefits, luxury, internet, streaming services, music, all that good stuff, whatever it is. Those are all luxury items that come along with getting your phone service, because not many people use the phone for calls anymore. So they want you to still pay for service. So they have to throw a bunch of things in so that it's worth it. However, there are times when you need to call somebody. There are times when you need to text somebody, and if you don't have good coverage, you can't do that either, right? So if you're not able to provide that to these customers that are in rural areas, what good are you, right? What good are you? You're not doing your job. So they need to really think about what they're doing. You can't just cut service. You better make sure that things are ready when you do, because there's going to be problems. There's going to be lawsuits, guaranteed. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.